Every gardener learns the same lesson early on. When a plant looks weak, move it somewhere with more sun, more light, more growth. That rule feels reliable until summer arrives. Because in summer, more sunlight can sometimes mean less food. Lettuce turns bitter. Spinach bolts before you can harvest it. Radish grows tough and almost too sharp to eat. The 10 vegetables in this video still need light. But during summer, they keep producing longer and more reliably when protected from the hardest afternoon sun. And one of them looks exactly like a root, even though the part you eat never grows underground. These plants don't want darkness. Most still need 4 to 6 hours of useful light each day. What they benefit from is morning sun and protection from the hardest afternoon heat, which slows water loss, reduces stress, and delays bolting. Bolting is the moment a plant stops building leaves and starts putting energy into flowers and seed instead. Once a plant bolts, the harvest is effectively over. A plant that grows slightly slower in partial shade can sometimes feed you for much longer. 1. Let. The first vegetable is lettuce. One of the clearest examples of why more summer sun does not always mean more food. When temperatures climb and the days get longer, lettuce wants to bolt. The leaves become bitter, the texture tougher, and the harvest window closes fast. A lettuce plant in full afternoon sun might look stronger in the first week, but the one with morning sun and afternoon shade stays softer, resists bolting longer, and gives you leaves well into the month. The lettuce in full sun may win the first week. The shaded lettuce may win the entire month. Plant on the east-facing side of tomatoes or a trellis. Harvest outer leaves and leave the center growing. Sow a new batch every 2 weeks. 2. Spinach. Next is spinach, even more sensitive than lettuce, and more responsive to both temperature and day length. As days grow longer in late spring, spinach reads that signal almost like a calendar and begins preparing to bolt. Heat and dry soil make the process faster. Shade slows it down, but cannot stop it completely. The shade buys you time. It doesn't change the calendar. Sow small batches, harvest young, and choose slow bolting varieties if you want to stretch the season. When spinach begins surrendering to summer, another leafy green is only getting started. 3. Swiss chard. Swiss chard is what you grow when spinach gives up. It handles heat better, bolts less in the first season, and keeps producing for months if you harvest correctly. Cutting the large outer leaves while leaving the center intact. Chard tolerates afternoon shade. In mild climates, it doesn't require it. But in hot conditions, shade helps maintain leaf quality and reduces stress. About 4 to 6 hours of light is enough. One detail worth knowing. Swiss chard and beet are actually the same species, shaped over time for completely different harvests. That connection matters later in this list. The number 4 is arugula, a fast-growing green whose speed begins working against it when summer heat arrives. When temperatures rise, arugula bolts quickly. The flavor shifts from peppery to sharp and bitter in a way that's hard to enjoy. Aim for 4 to 6 hours of light with afternoon protection. Plant beneath a pea trellis or on the shaded side of tomatoes. Sow a new batch every 2 to 3 weeks and harvest while the leaves are still young. Arugula flowers are edible too. Same peppery character, slightly milder. 5. Mustard greens. The final crop in the first group is mustard greens. They can handle more heat than spinach, but like arugula, their flavor becomes noticeably stronger as the leaves age. Treat them as a baby leaf crop. Harvest early and often. Keep the soil moisture steady. Heat, drought, and older leaf age all make the flavor seem sharper, which is why summer mustard is best harvested young. That completes the first group. Leafy crops that bolt quickly when summer arrives. For them, afternoon shade is mainly about delaying the end of the harvest. The first 5 crops use shade to delay bolting. The next 5 use it for something different: cooler soil, steadier moisture, and better texture. 6. Kale. We begin the second group with kale. Still a leafy green, but a much tougher one. Shade doesn't make kale grow faster or produce more. What it does is reduce wilting and help the plant survive long enough to reach the season when it actually performs best. In mild climates, full sun is fine through summer. In hot climates, afternoon shade is less about preference and more about survival. Harvest the lower leaves first. Never cut the growing tip in the center. Shade does not help kale win summer. It helps kale survive long enough to reach the season when it performs best. 7. Radish. Radish needs light to form its root. That part is not negotiable. But when soil gets too hot or too dry, the root becomes tough, overly sharp, sometimes hollow or unevenly developed. Afternoon shade doesn't replace the light radish needs. It keeps the soil cooler and holds moisture longer, which is where most of the benefit actually comes from. Too much shade, and the plant puts energy into leaves instead of roots. Choose small, fast-maturing varieties. Keep the soil evenly moist. Harvest on time. 8. Kohlrabi. Number 8 is kohlrabi, the strange vegetable teased at the beginning of this video. It looks like a root, but the round part you eat is actually a swollen stem growing above the soil, attached to the earth by roots that are separate and much smaller. Heat and inconsistent moisture make the stem tough and fibrous. Afternoon shade reduces that stress, but the plant still needs 4 to 6 hours of light to form the stem properly. Harvest when it's still small and tender. Left too long, it becomes woody. The young leaves are also edible, similar to kale, and don't bury the stem. That round shape needs to stay above the soil line. 9. Beets. Beets are one of the more shade-tolerant root crops on this list, especially when both leaves and roots are part of the harvest. In lower light, the root develops more slowly, but the leaves remain perfectly usable the whole time. You're harvesting the top while the bottom keeps growing. Don't take too many leaves at once. The plant needs them to keep putting energy into the root. Thin the seedlings early and use the thinnings as baby greens. Beet and chard are the same species, one selected mainly for leaves and stalks, the other for its swollen root. 10. Summer sound carrots. The final vegetable is also the most misunderstood on this list. Carrots do not grow better in shade. Their seeds simply survive summer better with protection. The real benefit is cooler, moister soil during germination. Their tiny seeds sit close to the surface, where summer sun can dry the ground before they establish. Light afternoon protection keeps that surface moist longer and makes germination more reliable. Once established, carrots still need 4 to 6 hours of useful light to build good roots. Choose short or round, fast-maturing varieties. Their shallower roots are easier to keep evenly moist during establishment. For carrots, shade is not the growing condition. It is protection during the most vulnerable stage. 4 ways to create afternoon shade first. Use tall plants. Grow lettuce, spinach, or arugula on the east-facing side of tomatoes, corn, or a trellis. By afternoon, the taller plants block the harshest light. Watch the shadow patterns before you plant. The right position depends on your garden's orientation. Second, shade cloth. A lightweight cloth, often around 20 to 30% for vegetables, placed above the bed during peak heat. Keep it high enough for air to circulate. Avoid heavy cloth over crops that need to form roots or bulbs. Third, containers. Position pots where they receive morning light, then shelter them near a wall or larger container for the afternoon. Fourth, temporary seasonal shade. Not every bed needs protection all summer. Use a removable cover only during the hottest weeks, then take it down as temperatures fall. The shade should solve a seasonal problem, not become a permanent condition. Spend one afternoon watching where your garden's shadows fall between 2 and 5 o'clock. That tells you more than counting total sunlight hours. 5 mistakes to avoid first: turning afternoon shade into deep shade. These plants still need light. A position that's dark all day produces weak, leggy plants with poor yield. Second, watering shaded beds on the same schedule as sunny ones. Shaded soil dries more slowly. Feel the soil before you water. Third, crowding. Poor airflow in a shaded, moist bed creates conditions where disease can spread. Give plants space. Fourth, assuming all shade is equal. Shade from a trellis is very different from shade under a large tree. A mature tree claims most of the nearby water and nutrients. The shade is free. Everything else has a cost. Fifth, counting hours, not timing. 4 hours of harsh late afternoon sun can stress cool season crops more than a longer period of gentler morning light. Don't ask only how many hours a bed receives. Ask which hours. None of these vegetables wants darkness. What they want is useful light and protection when summer heat begins doing more harm than the sunlight is doing good. Shade earns its place when it slows bolting, protects moisture, and extends the harvest. That is not a compromise. That is good gardening. Which vegetable surprised you most? Tell us below. And before moving a struggling plant into more sun, spend one afternoon watching where your garden's shadows fall. Your best summer growing spot may already be there. Subscribe to Rooted Wonders for more hidden lessons from the garden.